Hey guys, how are y'all doing? How's your day going? And if you're just starting, how was your night? Hope you had or having an amazing day. And welcome. Thank you for joining us on day two of our 10 days Python crash course. So quick revision on everything we did in day one. If you haven't watched it though, I think it should be somewhere in the cards up here, or it's going to be at the ending of this video, and it's going to be in our 10 days Python crash course playlist. So you can go there, you can check it out, and you can come back and join us here. But on day one, we covered setting up and installing Python on your system. If you are using an iPhone or an Android, then setting up Python is going to be a bit different. So I've done multiple videos on that on TikTok, but I'm going to release another video and I'll try and link it on both of these videos because I forgot to mention it in the last video, I think. But though, if you have, like, if you check in the link below, I have a document that is a crash course notes I just compiled, so it can be easier for you to flow through this course. So if you check the notes, the first few pages I covered setting up on both your system, your Android and your iOS. So if you read through the book, you're going to still see how to set it up on your iOS. But yes, we also covered operators, we covered printing, we didn't do input. I forgot to mention that also. I don't know why I was just sleeping my brain, but we're going to do that today. So today we're going to be covering strings. If you don't know what a string is a collection of characters. It can be as long as you want and it can be as short as you want. And strings are always enclosed in inverted commas, whether it's the double ones or the single ones. So let's create our very first string. Let's create a string that is for name because I've always been mentioning name. I don't know. I'm very bad at naming variables. I don't know why. So we have name, and we're just going to assign my name to it. So if you don't know what my name is Praise Chibudom Obasi. That is literally the name of the channel, Chibudom Obasi. So that's my name. And we have assigned the string. So if I was to say, and I wanted to just print this string from the variable, I've done printing from variables. You call your print function, enclosed in your parentheses. If it's a variable, you just pass in the name of the variable, name, save it. Remember how to run your Python program, run it, and it printed out Chibudo Obasi. If you want to print out a string without accessing it from a variable, you call in your inverted comma and then you save it and you print. So now it's going to print name because we didn't call the variable, we printed a string. And if you want to print a digit, a number, a float, you just pass in the number. No need to call a new variable or saving it in an inverted comma. So it's only strings that are saved in inverted commas. Yes. Now, when you're working with input, print is to display data to the users. Input is to collect information from the users. When you're working in input in Python, by default, the input function only receives strings. So take this with me. If I were to take input, so receiving input from users is very simple. Let's assign a variable, I don't know, a is equals to input. Python is very, very straightforward. I'm in love with Python. What the fuck is this? Is equals to input, call my parentheses. I can pass in a prompt for the user, enter here, just to guide them, or I can leave it blank also though, but just give the user a prompt, enter here. I'll take the input from the user and then I'm going to print the user's input, returning the user's input to them. Let's save it. So I'm going to pass in a number as my input, but that number is going to be saved as a string because the input function by default only receives strings. So let's receive the string. Let's enter a digit and is returning this string. So I know you are just seeing a number, right? But let's carry out a mathematical function and receive an error. So you cannot add strings and numbers together. But we're going to do that now so that you can see the error. So a is a string. So we're going to do a plus 6. Save it and we're going to run it. Let's enter a number and it's going to give us what's the error. Type error can only concatenate string, not integers. So now what is this concatenation about, whatever I should mention here? That is when you add two strings. So for example, if I were to declare a string function, a equals to, I don't know, let's call my first name Chibudom, and I were to declare a second string and let's call it b, let's call it into my surname. Let's add the white space ahead of it. Sorry, let's add a white space ahead of it so that it will not be one word, and just save it as obasi. And now we want to print it as one name. So the way to go about that is to call. I don't know why I don't know how to pronounce. I don't know why I don't know how to pronounce any word. It's not my fault. But that is basically adding A and B to join them or fuse them as one word. So we're going to print A plus B. So now you can see here it says can only contain string, not integer, because you can't add the only function, the only mathematical operation you can carry out with strings and integers in Python, or I don't want to say every programming language because I don't know every programming language, but in Python is a multiplication. So if I were to do we'll get into that. Don't go ahead of yourself. Let's save this and let's run this and see what we're going to get. See, one word, Chibudom obasi. So now, if we're making use of another mathematical function, that is the multiplication using the asterisk. So if we were to pass 3, what is going to happen is this word a chibudom is going to print 3 times. So I think those are the only two mathematical operations that can be carried out on strings. But what was I doing? I was introducing you to input. So by default, every input you receive is a string. So what if you want to collect an integer from the user? Well, you pass the int function, you pass the float function, you pass the complex function, whatever it is you want. So you can pass it while you're receiving the input, or you can pass after it's received. I personally I hate having bulky code, so I pass it as I'm collecting the input from the user. Unless there are some cases when like I created a calculator using Tkinter and I wanted to take the user's function, but I wasn't sure what mathematical operation or how large it was going to be, so I will just collect it as a string and I will evaluate it. Going ahead of ourselves though, we're going to get into that somewhere in the future, probably not in this course because this is a crash course, but I'm going to release a full better version of the course if this video does well. So if you would like to see that, feel free to give this video a like, comment, ask whatever question it is you want to ask. And if you feel you're the kind of person that likes talking with the person who is teaching you face to face, or not face to face per se, but live, I go live every single day by 11 p.m. on TikTok. That is West African time, 11 p.m. West African time. I go live every single day. And yeah, if that's of interest to you, just drop by, say hi, and just so let's call it once we receive a number. So num is going to be equals to. So we're going to call the int function that is int. We have our parentheses. Within that parentheses, we're going to call the input function. Within that input function is the same thing we just worked on. Now we're going to either leave it plain or um prompt the user for something. Enter here. Now if we are going to carry out a mathematical function on it now, so let's print num plus 2. Let's save this. So now that I've passed num, I do not want to get an error. Let's pass in 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. I want to get 4. I do not want to have an error. Run your code. Perfect. So if you want to receive an input from your user using the input function, by default, whatever input is passed is a string. But if you want to turn it into any other data type, I'm going to jump into data type, I think tomorrow or so. We are going to now have to call what you use, like int, float, complex, yeah. Okay. So, um, hmm, when you're receiving strings, so remember yesterday we talked about multi doc strings when you use these three invented when you use these three inverted comma to receive a long list of um comments from the users. But you can also implement this when you're working with strings. If let's say you want to write something really long, I don't want to write anything, I don't know what to write, but I wanted to write multi-line code, and I wanted to instead of having to now start printing or receiving input individually, basically what I can do. Sorry, I just I just called Python. Oh, she really doesn't want me to quit, does it? Okay. So basically what I would do is just use the doc string format, assign it to a variable, and then I would print it. Then we're making a lot of mistakes today though. Save it and we can run it. And there we have it. So it's going to print it exactly how we display it. So this is usually nice when you want to start working with more broad or complex things. Although for console project, I doubt you ever come across a project like that. And once you start going into frameworks, I don't think you do nothing. Okay. Um Now, so strings, there are so many functions that you can carry out on strings that are very similar to functions you carry out on list arrays. So let's jump into that. So let's just create a very basic string here. Once again, let's use my name because why not? Let's assign just Chibudom. Let's just use my first. This is my second name. I forgot for my name. Okay. So what if I wanted to loop through this? So we have not gone into loop here. So don't stress your brain to try and understand it. Just see what I'm doing. And once we enter loops and control flow, you'll be like, oh yeah, I remember when you explained that when we were working with strings. It makes much sense right now. But stay tuned. I think we'll be going into loops. Let me check. So this is where we are today. We're currently working on strings and variables. Yeah, tomorrow I'm going into control flow. That's like my best. That is my best. I'm obsessed. I don't know why I love conditionals. I love loops. I'm not a fan of while loops so much though, but conditionals, for loops, and exception handling, I love them a lot. So we're going to be going into that tomorrow. Yeah. So yeah, so that means the gap you have to make isn't going to be so much. So if I wanted to print each individual, I wanted to loop. So remember, yesterday I introduced you to membership operator. So let's use that. So let's call for. So for, let's say for I are calling a variable. I'm trying not to push you into loops right now. But for I, membership operator, in is a membership operator, not in is a membership operator. So what I'm just saying, for every single variable that is present in name, we'll just print it. So we're going to print every single thing on a straight line. This is just something basic. I'm just showing you that you cannot loop. So note, you can loop through arrays. That is when I call arrays, because we don't really have arrays as a function in Python. When I'm calling arrays, just now I'm talking about lists, tuples, sets, dictionaries. What else do we have? I think that's all. Yeah, that should be all. And strings. So whenever you hear arrays, just put those four things: lists, tuples, sets, and dictionaries. So that's what I'm just referring to as arrays. I'm just grouping them into one word. But just as strings works hand in hand, it works very similar to almost all arrays. Although strings are immutable, that is, you cannot change. Like I cannot say, okay, in a list now, I can say for let's say if I have the ID at zero, so I can say for name zero is equals to that I'm reassigning the value of that first element. But you can't do that in strings. You can't strings are immutable. Yeah. So we're going to print I. So let's just save this, run it, and then print every single thing on a straight line. That is showing that I can check for each individual, I can access each individual element of my string, but I cannot reassign them. So strings are much more similar to tuples actually than lists. But yeah. I can also pass condition, like I can check if something is in my list. For example, I can say if let's say I'll check if the letter who knows B is so I'm using the in also is if sorry no why am I calling in, if B in name, let's print um I don't know, yes, let's print yes. Let's save it and let's run it. So it's going to print yes because B is present. If we do if B not in, it's going to print no. Let's set to print no, else print yes. I'm jumping into conditionals. I'm sorry. Print yes. Just don't try and grab it into your head. Just understand that I'm saying that you can work with strings the way you would with any single array. That's just what I'm trying to explain now. But let's leave this now and let's go into something much more beautiful in strings. Let's start modifying our strings. Like I say, strings are immutable. You can't change them, but you can create new things from strings. For example, you can create lists from strings. But first, before we go into that, let's learn how to access different data from a string. So there's this stuff in Python. It applies to strings, it applies to lists, tuples, whatever. It's called slicing. So this is the access of giving a string or a list of um range of the ID of the data which you want to access your information from. So I don't know if I still have this, but I created something like a note to help explain this better. But okay, let me recreate that. Let me create a new one. Okay, let's open a new Word document. Or let's just use here. Let's zoom in. So let's create a table here. Insert table. Let's just have just a couple, not much. So let's say this first line is the word on the variable. Let's say PINT. I know it I was going to put K, but I didn't. Let's let's insert something. Let's insert a new row. Is it row you call it? Okay, I inserted, so I don't want to do. But let's say we're going to do the other one. So in slicing, there's the main indexing, your positive indexing, and there is the negative indexing. So your positive indexing starts from the front. This is where you have 0, you have 1, you have 2, and you have 3. While negative indexing starts from -1, because I don't think -0 exists in any part of this world. We have -2, we have -3, and we'll have -4. So if I wanted to print, so let's go to our main program now and now implement this little thing we just saw. So if I wanted to print from name, but I didn't want to just print the full name. I wanted to access within name. So if I want to access from maybe the first element, I can just use this plain index percent in front of it. So maybe the fifth element. So we can save that. Let's run it. So you can notice one thing about indexing, even this also applies to range. In range, if you say print from range to 4, you will print 0, 1, 2, 3. You wouldn't print 4. Yeah, we said we wanted access to the fifth element. It will print 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. You wouldn't print D. So now let's print backwards. So if I wanted to access from the last element, so I'll have first where I want to stop at. Let's say I want to stop at a negative, maybe 5. I don't know why I like the number 5 today. And then behind it, I'll now put in my this indexing stuff. You must I'm just using that one for example. You mustn't start from the beginning one. So we have BUDOM, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because start from negative indexing, there's no zero before it. So I hope that explains slicing for you. I'm just trying to give you, like I said, it's a crash course, so we're supposed to just be flying through it. If you don't understand anything with what I just explained right now, um let me know. So now let's start modifying our strings. This is one of the very beautiful things about Python. So let's pass in our print function. I want to be printing every single thing. Let me just be commenting as I go by, so you know. So the first one, assuming we received input from the user, but we want to change it to uppercase or lowercase. So the two functions you pass to carry out these actions are print. I'm just printing so we can see the output. So we want to print name dot. So for the first one, we want to print name dot upper, that is upper, passing your parentheses. That's to change it to uppercase, and then there's lower to change it to lowercase. Next, we have if you want to remove white space. So white space mean, sometimes when people are writing their names, after they passing their name in, they're not pressing the space bar again, even though it's not needed. And sometimes there are certain things that can affect the program you're working with. So let's comment this and call it removing white space. So to do this, we're going to still pass our print name dot strip. Pass your parentheses, so that is going to remove any white space both in front and at the ending of the string. What else do we need? So okay, replacing an element in a string. So I told you, you can't reassign, you cannot change the value of your word by like going there and like say, the way you do it in list, when you just call, what I'm trying to say is like, you call, let's say, name, you call the index in name you want to change 3, and say it's equals to, who knows, I. You can't do that, but you can reassign every single thing. Like you can call name on its own, like say like name like this, is equals to something that will work, or you can replace the element you want to work with. So this hashtag replacing. So to do this, let's print it. So we're going to do print a dot replace. So the first one is going to be the word it is you want to replace. Let's replace C, and let's replace it with, I don't know, D, because why not? And what else do we have to do? Okay, if you want to create a new list, you want to generate a list from your from your string. So let's call this creating a new list. So let me create a new strings for this one. So it'll be better to use that. So let's say B is equals to let's say Chibudom Obasi. I don't know why I'm in love with my name today. Chibudom Obasi. So when you want to split in Python, yeah, split is the function you use. When you want to split in Python, if I were to just say b dot split, and I just passing the this thing, just I just passing parameters without passing any word after it, it's going to split it at every white space. But if I wanted it to split it with something specific, maybe like after every dot, I'll just pass in the dots, but not just dot. I'll put inside the string quotation and place my dots. Or if it's bound to split it by letter, I can do that. But if I leave it plain, it's going to split it at this white space in the middle here. So for every place that white space occurs, that's where it's going to split from. um so there is a long list. Like, okay, let's just see what list can pop up, so we can just do a quick um um three, let me see if they'll suggest. I don't know if they are usually if you just do suggest as we click on it, but it's not suggesting anything for me. It's not suggesting anything. But sure, these ones I just mentioned are the basic Python strings you need to work with. What else do you? I think if there's any other one, then you can just quickly read it on your own. So let's save this one we've just created here, and let's run it. Sorry, I didn't call it A. I called it name. Sorry, I don't know why A came to my mind. Name. Let's save that. Sorry. Sorry, look at me. I was explaining that you're supposed to put inverted comma and I didn't put inverted comma. I'm like I'm very confused today. Sorry. I was gonna say you're supposed to put inverted comma. Let me check if it is in the error, for just start calling more errors for me. Okay, I wanted to replace C with D, not C. Let's save it. I hope there's no other error. Perfect. So there we have it. We changed the first one to uppercase, changed the second one to lowercase. We stripped the other one from all white spaces. We changed C to D, and we splitted our strings to turn it into a brand new list. So that is basically all the modification there is to do in Python. I mean, that is not all. There is more. There's a long list. Just once you want to start using it to check conditionals like is this, is that. So just give me a second. Let me just okay. What else do we need to do? Okay, so there's this stuff when you are printing. So let's declare multiple variables here. Let's declare both numbers. Let's just declare numbers, and let's declare one that is going to be string. So when you are printing, if you want to print a collection of numbers and strings in Python, there are different ways to go about this. Personally, this is a crash course. I'm just going to give you the method me I use. Some people use commas. Some people would use this curly braces, and they'll now assign it in dot format at the end. Some people use percentage and declare it at the end in the curly braces. I don't do all those. I don't give a fuck about those. What I do, anytime I'm working on a string that is going to have multiple variables in it, the first thing I'll pass in is this F statement that is called the format. Then I'll pass in the inverted commas. So I'm writing my random words, right? Then if I want to call the variables, I'll pass in curly braces, call the variable name, close the curly brace, continue writing again. I want to pass in another one, pass the curly braces, pass the name, close the curly braces. It doesn't matter what the variable type is. Save it and it's going to print out. Sorry, I'm printing out the wrong one. Sorry. I want to print test.py. Test.py. So there you can see it, even though it's a whole bunch of nonsense, you can see the five we declared and you can see the fan we declared. That's how I work with formatting my string. If you don't like that, that's your fucking business. You can go and find something that is more sensitive. But to me, for my own personal opinion, whether unpopular or not, this is the best and the easiest method to go about this. So next, you have these stuff that are called characters. I'm not going to give you all those ones now, but in Python, there are certain characters that have been saved for specific purposes, like jumping to a new line or the backslash that is used for declaring most things, or even your inverted comma and all those things. So when you want to call them and use them as normal elements in your string, you pass your backslash. So if you want to do backslash, it will be backslash backslash. If you want to jump to a new line, backslash n. If you know the whole thing, go and read on that by yourself. This is a crash course. If you want the full tutorial on that, you can get back to me. So okay, let me just I just pulled up. Let's just read some of the these things, some of the I'll just run through all these elements here and I'll explain them for you. But give me a minute, sorry. All right. So I'll just call a list of some of the methods in strings. I'll just give a crash explanatory. All right. Capitalize converts the first character to uppercase. Case fold converts strings into lowercase. Um, count returns the number of times a specified element or value occurs. Well, yes, I forgot. Also, there's this one, len, len, tells you the exact amount of elements that are present in your list, your strings, or whatever. What else do you have? Ends with returns true if the string ends with the specified value. Find searches for a string for a specified value. Um, Index sets the string for a specified value and returns the position where it was found. Now these are those ones I was saying that is used mostly for condition control. Is our num returns true if all characters is a string in the string are alphanumeric. Is alpha returns true if all characters in the string are in alphabet. Is decimal returns true if all characters in the strings are decimals. Is digits returns true if all characters in the strings are digits. Is lower returns true if all characters in string are lowercase. Is numeric returns true if all characters in the string are numeric. Wow, is lot. Join, yes, join is joins elements of an iterable into the end of strings. Like we use splits to change. I don't really. I usually use this when I'm working with list, but we use splits to turn strings to list. We use join to turn list to strings. Very simple. Um, there's a whole lot of things, so you can just go read it on your own, honestly. But yeah, sorry. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up, leave a comment, ask whatever questions it is you want to ask. In the description below, I'll leave all resources that are needed to continue with this course. I'm going to link the playlist of this course so you can go there and check out on videos you missed. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe so you know whenever I post up upload a brand new video. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Bye.